welcome to Buzzing About Romance Happy Hour Edition. I am Becky, and I am super excited to be joined by author Melanie Moreland. Hi, Melanie.
Hi, Becky. How are you?
I'm great. Heather was supposed to be here with us tonight, and she's very sad she couldn't make it. She had a family thing come up. So I
And
told her,
family.
I said, I'm sure we'll be hanging out with Melanie again soon, and you can just hang out with us that
Absolutely.
time.
Absolutely.
Um,
Do you have a drink?
I do have a drink. Um, right now it's just water and Kool-Aid, but I'm gonna send the husband to go make me a margarita. What are you drinking?
Oh, I have cherry whiskey and Coke.
Cherry whiskey. So does it taste like a cherry Coke?
Yes, it does.
Yum.
Until you stand up.
Stand. So earlier this summer, my husband made a drink. He bought a bottle of the Screwball peanut butter whiskey. Have you had that?
No.
So he bought a bottle of it and then mixed it with a raspberry liqueur and legit tastes like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
No
Like
shit.
like legit. And you're sitting there drinking it, but you kind of want to chew it.
Well, yeah, because that would be your first instinct,
Yeah,
right?
but it's like really it's so good. It was so good and so unexpected. But I'm like, and they're sweet. And if I get like an overly sweet drink, I can drink them just like super fast.
Well, yeah, it's like juice.
Yeah.
Just juice. They taste like more.
Right?
Yes.
Right. So tonight we are here celebrating the full release of Men of the Falls. Book one, Aldo, has been out for a couple of weeks, and we talked about him over on Instagram Live together, but I am sure, we'll be talking about him again a little bit tonight, because I'm still kind of slightly obsessed with his heroine. And I owe some redemption because I hadn't read the epilogue or the outtakes.
No, hence the name No Epi
Epi
Becky.
Becky, I know. So I did go back and I read it before I started Roman. And then Roman came out yesterday, right?
Yes.
Yesterday. And it is paperbacks, audiobooks, and ebooks are all out there for everyone.
They are.
And it's so exciting.
It is. And Roman is well, I wrote Roman for me. I even dedicated my own book to me. So he was a character in my head. The story was in my head. I'm like, sometimes you just got to write what you want. So I wrote it. Um, Roman is far more intense. I mean, all those intense, but Roman takes it up a notch or six.
They were, it's really interesting because they are very different characters. But they have some of that same over the top protector vibes. Um, you know, touch her and die. He
Absolutely.
is gonna
I love that vibe.
burn the world for them. Um, and so like while they are it was really it was really interesting to read because and I loved them both because they were so different but in the same world, and it just shows that not every character is the same, right? Like
Nope.
you say, oh, he's a mafia hero, and you're like, oh, I've read Mafia. No, every character is uniquely in their own voice. And this just shows that, yeah, you can have two guys with same kind of similar situations, but their voices are different. How they behave is different.
Very much. Yes.
Um, okay, so you can ask, if you're new to Happy Hour and you've never been here before, you can ask all the questions in the chat. We'll do our best to answer them as we go. In the description are the links to all the places to connect with Melanie. We already talked about what we're drinking. And so let's just do a little get to know you. I know you. But maybe somebody wanders across this video that's never read Melanie Moreland before.
Maybe
Um,
not.
so let's help them figure out who Melanie Moreland is. So why romance, Melanie?
Because life's too hard.
Yeah.
Real life is too hard. And romance just takes us to a place that we all, or that most people want to be in. There's that happy, kind of floaty, kind of new. intense vibe when you fall in love. And that's what I try and capture in my stories. And, nobody wants to read about somebody taking out the garbage or doing dishes or laundry. That's real life shit. That's what we're trying to get away from. So you want someone who's going to sweep you off your feet and just make everything that's sort of dull and gray bright and new again.
Yeah. It's always funny because people are always like, oh, I want more realistic romance, or, why do you have to write billionaires? But even your blue collar guys are swoony. And even if life isn't perfect, they still are. We're not focusing on the dishes. We're talking about caring for each other and sweeping them off
Oh,
their
yeah.
feet. And everybody deserves romance.
Yes, you don't have to be a billionaire or even a millionaire to be romantic or be loving. I mean, Max wasn't in Reynolds Restoration, neither was Stefano or Brett.
No.
They're just guys with big hearts. I mean, Matt and I aren't wealthy. I'm just married to a man with a huge heart and likes to show it. Today in the doctor's office, one of the receptionists said to me, "You guys are just so cute. You're my favorite couple." And I
Oh,
started to laugh. And I said, "Well, it took me 35 years to get him this way." And she laughed. She's like, "You did a good job."
I love that. It's funny too, because we are in no way wealthy in our house, but 25 years, and
Yeah.
it's a pretty good space to be in. And he's a total cinnamon roll. And everybody always gives me a hard time because I always make fun of him and mean to cinnamon roll heroes. Like, I like the alpha holes. Like Roman, he's my dude. Um,
Yes.
but I married a cinnamon roll. I married the super nice guy with the big heart.
Yes. And that's what I did too. Um, but it doesn't mean that you can't fantasize a little bit.
Right, right. Well,
Absolutely.
and it was funny because there was a thing over on TikTok about a month or so ago, and a girl was asking, like, hey, romance readers, where did you find your real life uh, book boyfriend? And I went looking through the comments, and everyone was like, look for the nerd, look for the gamer guy. It's the quiet ones. And I'm like, yeah, a
It
thousand
is.
percent.
Matt and I can go to a party and he won't say a word all night, aside from hello, how are you? Or the
Same.
occasional grunt
Yes.
so I know he's alive. Yet when we go home, he thinks he's had a great time. But he'll hear every conversation around us. He has funny comments to make about the party. And that's just the way he is. He's just a very quiet person. Although every so often he comes out with zingers that just kill me.
My Mike has he has a dry sense of humor, and he's
Yes.
super like sarcastic, but it's like subtle smart sarcasm where you look like, did you did you just make a joke?
Yes.
What?
Was that, were you poking fun at that person? Like,
And he
did I
does
hear you right?
and he does
Yeah.
it in a way you're not sure. And so you're kind of like, I want to
Hmm.
laugh. Am I supposed to laugh?
Sometimes he says something, I look over to see if he's holding for a laugh.
Yeah.
Giving me the look over his glasses, like, are you getting me? Are you feeling this vibe?
That's
Especially, I love it when you're in a room with people and you have that silent conversation.
yeah.
When he looks over at me and just the one eyebrow kind of raises, and I'm like, and we have an entire conversation, and I'm giggling and he's smirking and nobody else knows, but we've had an entire conversation about, the weird haircut or the wild outfit or, whatever.
Every once in a while he'll come stand by me and he'll be like, don't say it. Don't say it. Keep your mouth shut. Just don't. Because I have some little like tics. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard for me not to say things.
Hmm.
And so, so this is so random and so funny though. One of the things that bugs me are really wonky eyebrows. Like,
Okay.
and I can't not fixate on them.
Like some of the new ones that literally go like,
Just even unkept, wild, crazy grandpa
okay,
eyebrows.
okay.
So our son was sick, and we went to see a doctor who was a, um, um, I can't think of it, the blood doctor that does all
Okay.
the, anyway, hematologist. That's the name.
Right.
And he was of like Eastern European descent, so he like still had an accent, and he had these like fuzzy, wonky, like caterpillar eyebrows.
Caterpillars.
And I was already really stressed because, our child and, we're doing all of these stuff. And I kept fixating and he just kept like flicking me and like,
Like, stop it. Don't.
don't, don't. And we got out and he goes, okay, now. And I'm like, those were ridiculous. Somebody give that man some tweezers. Anyway.
Okay. There's a signing I go to. I don't want to say the city and I don't want to embarrass anyone, but in the bar is one of the waiters, and he's been there every year that I've been there. And he's tall and thin, and he uses the hairspray on his
Oh,
bald head, and
oh.
I think a felt marker like this. And the first time you see him, like, it's all you can do not to go, oh, like,
Yes.
and you just kind of smile. He's great. He remembers what you drink. He remembers you. Oh, hello, good evening. Do you want another whatever? He's great, but you have to get past. And I want to take his hand and take him into the washroom and wash all the black off and say you don't need it.
Yes.
You're a lovely waiter and you're a great guy, I'm sure, but get rid of the felt tip marker. And the
Yes.
first time I looked at Karen looked at me, and we both had to look down. And I'm like, I don't even think I can talk. So she ordered her drink, and then she said, and she'll have. And he was like, okay. And he left, and I'm like, can we stay? She's like, just get it out of your system right now.
I need a Karen. Oh my goodness. Um, yeah. So, but Mike knows when I'm going to have a moment and he'll be like, don't,
Yeah, don't.
don't do
Don't
it.
keep it in. Keep it in.
So, do you have a favorite trope you like to read or to write?
Um, my favorite one to read, surprisingly, is historical romance.
I love it.
I love historical, and it's totally different from what I write.
Mm-hmm.
There's its own language, its own cadence. I find they
Do you have a
captivate.
favorite historical author?
Scarlett Scott
Oh,
is my favorite, and I've gotten to be really good friends with her. So we
yeah.
trade arcs. In fact, in my ABC series, I had the women in the stories have a book club, and their favorite was historical romance. And every book I featured one of her books and a quote from the book.
Love it.
Um, just because she's just lovely, and I love her. I also love Elise Braden and so many others, but Scarlett is just, I
I
love her.
got a hankering the other day and started rereading Stephanie Lauren's The Sinister Men.
Okay,
And I just, because see, I cut my teeth on the old school 70s, 80s, 90s bodice rippers.
right? Yeah,
And I
I
love
just love
them.
them. I just love them.
Yeah.
So, and it just takes me out of this world and puts me into that one, which helps clear my mind.
Yeah.
Um, and to write, uh, I'm a mood writer. So you never know what you're going to get. Are you going to get, Men of the Falls, or are you going to get The Contract,
Right?
or are you going to get Rev to the Max, or my favorite kidnapper? It depends what mood I'm in. I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning last night because a scene came to me for a book I'm writing, and I had to go write it before I forgot it. And the whole time I'm writing it, I'm snorting. I'm in here, it's dark. I didn't even turn on the lights, and I'm snorting with laughter. And I'm like, wait till Karen reads this shit. So it just depends. So right now I need a funny book mood.
Yeah.
Um, 2 weeks from now, I could be back writing another mafia book, or I have half a vampire book written. Like, you never know what's going to hit me.
Yeah. Well,
Although,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, well, Suze says she's going to need some of the bodyguards and top managements from Men of the Falls. She needs their
Oh, I
stories.
see. Okay. Um, we'll see. There might be another book planned. We'll see.
Well, I need to know about these Irishmen. Friend, like, They're going to
I
take
didn't
over?
even give them a name. Oh, I did give a last name.
You
Yes, I did give a last name.
you did, and you referred
I
to
did.
them as the brothers. I
You
mean,
never
Susan
know.
Stoker says if you name a character, you better plan on writing a book. You gave us a last name. This is your
I
own
get just
fault.
a last name. I didn't give a first. I purposely didn't give a first.
Doesn't matter.
I had the first in there and I remembered Susan's words, so I took the name out.
Too bad. So sad, sister. I need those books. Because, okay, so Men of the Falls, like, we're on to different things now. Men of the Falls. I am obsessed with these books and these characters because, I read My Favorite Kidnapper, minus the epilogue, but I'm working on going back to all the epilogues. That was
Oh,
for you,
no, Epi
Gretchen.
Becky. Yeah, no Epi Becky,
No
we
Epi
call her.
Becky. But when, Karen said, hey, Melanie's writing a duet that is mafia, we'd really like to do some things with you. I was like, yeah, awesome. I'm so excited about this. And then I thought, huh, how can Melanie Moreland, who is like one of the kindest, sweetest ladies in Romancelandia, how can she write mafia men? You gotta kill people and you gotta be mean and a little over the top. And I thought about Revved at the Max because Max is super grouchy, but he ends up being like super nice guy.
He's
Um,
a cinnamon roll.
yeah. And I've read all of the other Restoration Men, and then I read The Contract. Yeah, okay, I no longer had any fears. I was like, I read The Contract. Richard is a Richard.
Is an asshole.
The
Yes,
worst kind of assholes, really.
totally.
I mean, I'm still stuck on him. Like, I'm not convinced. I mean, I know you wrote him, but like, were you possessed by the devil when you wrote him? Because
I
he's so
was
mean.
I was so angry when I wrote that book that I wrote it to get my anger out because I'm Canadian and you don't express anger very well.
Right.
So I needed a character that said and did exactly what he thought, exactly what he wanted, and he didn't give a shit. And after about, I don't know, 5 chapters, I wasn't really mad anymore. I'd gotten over it. And I wrote a lot slower back then, so 5 chapters was probably about a month. And I wasn't mad, so I gave it to my editor and I said, this is just an exercise. You can read it and toss it. And she's like, oh my God, you have to finish this book. And I said to her, well, but I'm not mad anymore. And she's like, you're a shit writer and I don't like you very much. And I'm like, she's like, are you mad now?
Yes.
I'm
Well,
like,
this is
okay.
why when people sent me messages after our Instagram live and you were like, you don't read epilogues? I'm now going to have to kill you off in an epilogue, or, you're going over a cliff. We have talked and laughed about that for the last 3 weeks now. And I'm like, you guys, she will do it.
I
She was
will.
mad. I made her mad. Like, she'll
If you
kill
make,
people
don't
off.
make the little Canadian mad
No.
because she is vicious. Karen will tell you that.
I'm worried about going over the falls. Like, I guess I'm going to be in an Irish book and flying off an edge.
You never, if there's a Becky,
Well, and
if you're,
Jenny's like, just
you
let me
come
get out of the
across
car.
your name, buckle up, sister.
Um, Gretchen loves the dark side of Melanie. She's like, I love the dark side. It's so funny.
Karen calls it Canadian gray.
Yeah, yeah. You should get a sticker that says Melanie Moreland Canadian Grey.
I think she has one.
Okay.
Karen loves stickers.
I love stickers.
When you come to the table, you'll see a lot of stickers because she loves them, and they are great swag to give away because you can bring a whole lot and they don't take up a lot of
Yeah.
room. I'm shocked when I bring 200 pens, how heavy they are and how much room they take up in my suitcase. You
Sure.
wouldn't think pens do, but they do. But we can fit 5,000 stickers in a suitcase. And it's not a problem.
So our Patreon does swag packs every month and we mail out swag packs. And I love sending stickers because I can send them with a stamp. They're cheap to send internationally with a couple of
Yep.
stamps. And
And people love them.
people love them. And we have some fun ones like this one we just made in honor of our alien episode. It says beam me up daddy, and it's like holographic. I mean, we made my husband, he designed all these. Like, we have our next level book nerd, let's see here if I can turn it, Kidnapping is my love language.
Oh God, Karen needs that one.
I think I sent Karen a couple. I I might have. If I didn't, Karen, let me know and I will send you I'll send you some buzzing stickers cuz actually that's I've been working on stickers for the podcast to send out with our co-hosts and us and me when we go to signings so that we can
Yes,
kind of trade stickers and give stickers out and stuff like that.
because
Um
people love them.
and I have some fun ones that I just did. Well, I actually just made so in our Patreon, if you do our coffee of the month club, every 6 months you get a unique new Buzzing About Romance exclusive coffee mug from us.
Okay.
And I just designed the next coffee mug. I'm so excited about it, like so excited. Um so anyway, that's like
Okay.
let's
My
see here.
favorite one, well, it's my personal favorite. It's a chipmunk because um I work with my narrators and
Yeah.
John Lane produces my audiobooks for me. And he had written me and said, Melanie, how do you pronounce this name? Because it can be like this, or like this. And I'm like, when I wrote it back, I'm like, I don't think he's going to get it. So I thought I'll just call him. And I've got his number. He gave me his number. So I called him. And when he heard my voice, he said to me, oh my God, you sound exactly the way I thought you'd sound. You're a little Canadian chipmunk. So I told that to Karen, and of course it stuck. So now she made me a little sticker with as a Canadian chipmunk.
Chipmunk. I love that. So I own all of your audiobooks because I'm obsessed with John Lane.
Oh my God, he is amazing. And so is Maxine. And the two of them together, they just make my books sing.
I love
Um,
Maxine. And Maxine
oh,
does spicy so well. And I haven't listened yet to Roman, but I did listen to Aldo.
there's a line in Roman, and I don't remember what the line. She said it, and Effie's laughing as she said it. So she laughs as she said it. And it was so spot on that what she did made me laugh. And then I had to send it to Karen, and then Karen laughed. She's just amazing.
Yeah.
But the funny part is she's great with spicy. So's John.
Yeah.
Yet I don't know if I can ever look John in the eye for some of the things he has to say. Yet I had no problem with Maxine.
Right.
I hugged her, we chatted, I hugged her again the next day, like not a problem. But I thought if I ever ran into John or met him, I'm not sure I could look him in the eye.
Yeah. I love John Lane. One of the things that he does really well is the different accents.
Have
And
you listened to Changing Roles yet?
no, I've not listened. I have it. I just got that one because I've been told I have to do. Now, that's not in the ABCs, that's in the
No,
other
that's a
series.
standalone.
Right.
It's romantic comedy, but
Okay.
the actor in the book is English. So he speaks with an English accent, but his mother is Scottish. So he does the mother's voice in a Scottish accent, and he nailed it. It was it was just hilarious. And there's times when if I'm feeling a little down, I just go to that chapter and I hit play and listen to John in Scottish as an
He's
old woman.
he's so good. He's so well, he does Rena Morgan's books. And
Yes.
he does them because hers are written in single point of view. He does them in
Yeah.
third person single point of view and he gets all the female like when he has to voice the female characters like when he did in Aldo and he had to do Vi.
Yes.
He captures her essence and her cadence that matches to Maxine so well that you're
They're
almost like, wait, is this,
they're,
dual
they're
or
amazing.
duet? Like, they're just
Yes.
so great. I love
Yeah.
them. I,
One of my readers asked me if I'm ever going to change up my narrators, and I'm like, I hope not.
yeah,
The one book I have that John couldn't do is is just not right for me.
yeah.
Every time I listen it, I'm like, it needs to be John.
See, and
But
I like to use John and Maxine because I did the audiobook a little bit of The Contract and I
right.
didn't love she was fine. She just didn't sound like I expected um
Katie.
Katie. I wanted to say
Yes.
Cat and
No,
I'm like that's not right. Cat's not right.
no.
She didn't sound exactly like I thought Cat would sound.
No, now see, I was very lucky when I did the contract because it was my agent who did the deal.
Yeah.
And John was one of the voices I got to pick from. And as soon as I heard his voice, I said, that's Richard.
Oh yeah, he does
Um,
a great Richard.
Picking a female was harder, but Maxine wasn't in the business at that time.
Oh, it's
But
okay. I
ever
mean,
since, yeah, she started, I think, with Bentley. I think she started. And I don't want anybody else.
it was still good audio. Like I'm not
Yeah.
complaining. It just wasn't, you know how when you get a character like, okay, so here's something that's interesting. As I listened to Aldo, I was like, gosh, Maxine is Vi. Like she's vivacious. She's, you know, got the aura. She totally, and I listened to the sample of Effie and I was like, and now she's got Effie. Like the softer, quieter, um, there's a gentleness about Effie.
Yes, there
A,
is.
a quiet calm, which is why she's
Yeah.
so great for Roman.
Yes. And but she gets that every video or every audio, and they're amazing because they always check with me about names and how I want a character to be. And they're just amazing to work with.
It's
And I
so
love
awesome.
it.
Um, so inspiration for these men of the falls. How did we get here?
Um, the idea of what brings Effie into Roman's life,
Yeah.
that had been playing around in the back of my head for a long time. And I said to Kara, and last year I was going to write it, but then Dante took over and there was no, I mean, that was just ridiculous. No one kidnaps anyone to Italy to bake them cakes
Right.
and brings their cat. Nobody does that. And nobody drugs their Ovaltine. Nobody drinks Ovaltine. But it was as ridiculous as I could make it. But this darker was still bubbling. And one day I sat down and I just wrote the scene where Roman realizes what's happened. And once I did that, it just took hold. And when I sent Karen, I think the first 3 chapters, she's like, how dark is this going to be? I'm like, well, there's guns and there's shooting, and he really likes to unalive people if they piss him off. And she's like, okay, when you get this anger out, let me know.
Well,
And
I
the book wrote itself. He was right there, right in my mind. He knew exactly what was going to happen. There was no hesitation. Usually at some point in my book, I flounder a little, or I'm like, now where do I go? Or should I do this or should I do
yeah.
that? It just flowed.
Well,
Um,
you gave me a little bit of a heart attack in this book with Roman a little bit because there's a character named Connor. And I was like, first of all, like I felt every moment of Effie's guilt. Like every moment where she started to panic. Like
yes.
I was like, I'm panicked too, sister. Like you and me. I'm in this now. And I was like, oh shit. He likes to kill
I
people and he does not give second chances.
no.
And I'm just
The
was
plan
like,
had been to kill him.
I was like, oh no.
But
Anyway,
then I thought this is the first time that Effie influences him because no one influences Roman.
no, not even Aldo. Aldo, like,
No,
Aldo thinks he has control, but really, he does not.
no,
He doesn't
nobody
even
has
have
control.
control of Vi. Like,
No,
give it up, mister.
nobody has control of Vi. Only Vi.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, that was the first time that Effie's gentleness washed through his world.
Yeah.
And he couldn't do what 2 weeks ago he would have done.
Yeah.
Um, so that was sort of the turning point for Roman, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, am I in trouble? No, okay.
Okay. It was so well done, though. And I liked, first of all, the spice, too. And also, this is a virgin heroine. Effie is a virgin,
Yes.
but she's not dumb and she's
No,
not like too stupid to live and she's not a virgin because she's saving herself.
no, she's
She
just
just is quiet and living in her own world and dating and men are just not a part of it at this time. Um and I feel like for her because of the circumstances surrounding her life with the loss of her father and her mother, and then the evil freaking stepsister or half sister, whatever she was, that's who needed to yeet off a cliff. Like,
Got her own.
she does. We can't spoil it, but sister needed to go. Um, I understand though why she didn't connect to people. Like, she's afraid.
Yes.
You know, she's had so much loss, but then also people she thought would care for her or care about her were disappointing her.
Yes.
So I loved her though.
I loved her gentleness of spirit, but there was a backbone there. It
Yeah.
was she reminded me in some ways of Katie.
Yeah.
Katie was a very quiet, gentle, but very strong person.
Yeah.
And so was Effie. She had to be to get past what happened to her. And I mean, so many bad things happened to her in a row, let's face it. And that opened her up to Roman. And he had no choice but to fall in love with her. Like,
I loved the little pieces that you gave with the cookies. I loved that. So that's something that I really love with your books. One, you love food. And so you put food in your books and give great food.
you
Like,
gotta write what you know.
right?
And my editor's a foodie. So I love researching and then dropping all this stuff in. And then she's like, thanks, Melanie. Now I'm hungry.
Hungry. Yeah. Yeah. I actually asked my husband, I was like, hey, can you make bagels? He's like, I don't make bagels. We will go to the shop. And I was like, no, I'm going to need you to make some homemade bagels. And he's like, yeah, no, we're not doing that.
Bagels are a lot of work.
I think he could figure it out. It'll be okay. Um, but like the cookies, like food is a love language. And for Effie, that was part of her love language and her
Yeah.
care that she gives. And I just love those little details. Like you do that in a lot of your books with these little, like someone's love language is food in a book.
Yes.
And I love that.
Yes. I think I've only ever written one heroine that couldn't cook. I think.
Well, her name
Because
wasn't Becky,
cooking
right?
is my love language. I mean, Christmas and Easter and Thanksgiving, that's here. And if I want to care for someone, I cook for them. If I want to show someone I love, I'll make them a treat. That's my love language.
Yeah.
Um, so that usually, I mean, you write a little bit of yourself into every book. And that's one of my strongest suits, I think. I mean, I make Karen cookies and ship them to the States.
I love that. I love that.
I'm
Um,
sure she'd like to pop in the comments and inform everybody she hasn't had cookies in a while.
oh,
But um, I'll see her in a couple weeks, so she'll get some cookies.
I've been told I make really good chocolate chip cookies. So I do make chocolate chip cookies, but I'm not a great cook.
Ah,
I'm not. Um, but gift giving is my love. I like to send you little small things, you know.
see, and that somebody like me would love that.
I love that. I love like
Yes,
I love to send cards. Like I came across this and it made me smile and think of you. Like
right,
that's what I like to do is
right.
um
I think everyone has that little something
yeah.
that they do that's special.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but cooking is mine, and yeah, it's always in the book. Like,
Okay,
you write what you know.
can we talk a little bit about the feisty grandma figures you like to put in the
Oh,
books? Like we have Nona this time.
yes,
And like in the restoration, we have the aunt, the great
yes,
aunt.
yeah,
Like you just like the feisty ladies.
I do. I had an Aunt Thelma. I mean, she passed several years ago, but she was 4'6", maybe weighed 85 pounds,
Yeah.
and you did not want to make her angry. Um, but she could zing you with a line. If you needed help, she was right there. She was just, she was this cantankerous, sweet little old lady, all rolled into one. And when I write older heroines, I love to write that kind. Because you know what? I'm hoping that's what I'm going to be when I'm 80.
Yeah. I love that.
sassing you from my wheelchair, telling you off, telling you to get me a glass of wine, playing cards with some young, sexy man and offering him, a boudoir photograph or whatever happened, an image of you. That's what I hope to be,
I love
you
that.
know? We all got to strive for something, Becky.
I got it. No, I had a great grandmother, very Dutch. She was not even 4'5". She had to sit on the telephone book, the Detroit telephone book, in order to drive the car. And she had a little black hat with a daisy on it that was her driving hat. And like men, my dad was like well over 6 feet and a big guy.
Right.
One look from her and he would sit down.
Done.
Still as
Yeah.
an adult. Like I was a child and, she came to visit and she looked at my dad. One look, he sat down. But like she also was notorious for nipping the whiskey while she cooked. So by the time you got to the
That's
end,
what I'm hoping.
by the time you got to the end of Sunday dinner, great grandma was drunk. And you kind of had to prop her up to get through to
Got her out of the dishes.
right. Well, she'd be like, she always cooked Sunday roast, so she had to give the Sunday roast a little nip of the Irish whiskey and then a nip for her.
Oh boy. I bet you there was a lot of nips going on.
There was so many, and it was always in the pocket. She wore an apron,
Right.
and the bottle was always in the pocket, and she only would buy it like in a fifth, and there was always like tons of fifths in the closet.
Well, that's because it's hard to fit a 40 in your apron pocket.
Right. So the fifth was always in her apron. And I said to my grandfather once, it was my grandmother's mother. I said to my grandfather, though, her son in law, I said, why doesn't somebody just buy her the big bottle and then refill it once a week for her? And he was like, nope, nobody does that. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay. Um, Apparently then, because it was Michigan and you get money back for the glass.
Oh God.
I was like, okay, whatever. Whatever. But yeah, I love the grandmas. I love your spicy grandmas. And
Well, yeah, they've got a. And I usually make them on the men's side
yeah.
quite often. So someone needs to control these men, and no one else can do it but either their mama or their grandmother. Especially the Italians, they need their nonna.
Well,
So,
is it Stefano in Restoration?
yeah, with his mama.
His
Yeah.
mama, she's fierce and
Yeah.
slightly frightening.
And then she marries Daddy Mac.
That's right.
You go, Mama Rosa.
Get it, girl.
You go.
I love them.
I'm halfway through my whiskey stuff. And where's your drink?
I don't know where my drink is.
Your service is
He got
falling
lost. I might need to not tip him. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not sad.
I think he's having a few nips in the kitchen.
He might be.
This isn't strong enough yet.
Well, he's probably trying to save me from myself because I would be like. Last week we went to the local brewery and they had this cherry cream ale and it was so yummy. Like it was like a cherry ice cream taste because it had the lactate in the because it's a cream ale
Right.
with the cherry sweetness, so it almost was like a cherry sorbet, like the sharp cherry flavor. It was
Oh.
so good, but I drank them way too fast.
Well, maybe he's right not to bring you a margarita, no Epi Becky.
He might be. You will see. Jenny always worries when she travels with me because I grew up in Northwest Ohio. We don't have a lot here but cornfields and drinking. And I'm also Catholic, which, plays into it a little bit there. I can hold my liquor. Like I can drink, but I have like a routine that I do when I've had too much. Like I shower puke, then I take 2 Advil and I go to bed.
Oh dear.
So I'm never hungover in the morning though. Never. I don't have hangovers.
Well, I don't drink a lot. Although at the RTF signing in 2019, I think, Karen has a video of me bombed out of my skull drinking, and there's like 8 or 9 wine bottles around us, and I've been imbibing a lot.
Love
And
it.
then there was another, I think it was Charlotte. She couldn't come until the Friday, and I was there on the Thursday. And Bethany Lopez, who's another author, and I had a glass of wine during a little function in the afternoon. And then we go up to the room and la la la. And she calls, she's like, I'm sitting in the bar all by myself.
We can't
And
have
I said,
that.
Mano, I can't leave her downstairs by herself. I said, I'll just go down and have a drink. Okay, I got back to the room at 3 in the morning. By the time I got back, Matt had come down a couple times just to make sure I was alive. Bethany and I had ordered cupcakes from the bartender, fries and a burger about 1 o'clock. He found us some sort of snack about 1:30. He didn't even ask. He just poured the vodka and cranberries for us. I drunk Kyle dialed Karen twice, and we were just hammered.
I love
So the
it.
next day I'm walking through the lobby, not quite right. And this man says to me, hey, Mrs. Moreland, I'll see you tonight, right? And I'm like, what the hell was that? Matt's like, that was your bartender.
And he remembers because
He
he still
totally
has your
remembered
credit
us.
card.
Yeah, when I saw the bill, I know why he remembered us.
Well, when we were at Readers on the River in Louisville in September, we Saturday night after the signing, we didn't go to the after party because I'm not really an after party kind of person. I'm more of a like, let's sit and lounge in the bar and
Yes,
snack. And then, if we wander
and
off to
drink.
bed, we can go to wander bed. But we had like a really expensive bar tab. Like all three of us, it was Mike, Jenny, and I. We tied it on. Like, I think I was like 5 or 6 old fashions that night.
Honey, I had 12 vodkas.
I love it. I
12.
love
And
it.
I don't think he rang them all through.
Well, okay, so our bill disappeared. Like I signed for it, but it never has shown up on any of our credit cards. And I was with Lisa, Sawyer Bennett's PA, and Lisa's like, I didn't pick it up. And I was like, okay. I don't know. I don't know who paid that bill, whose bill
It
I
was karma.
signed.
It was
I
just karma.
don't know where it is.
Don't worry about it.
Like, okay.
Don't worry about it.
I don't know. There's It was a good night though. And like you, I ordered some bread pudding from the restaurant cuz I love a good bread pudding.
Well, there you go.
I ordered it with like vanilla ice cream and I was like, we need more dessert options. I at one point told the bartender that the restaurant needed better dessert options. He's like, I'll let them know.
I'll get on that. Would you like another whiskey?
Right? He's like, mm-hmm, sure, lady. Got it. Oh, yeah, and I
Whatever you
got
want.
cake too. I got a bourbon butter cake. Like a
Oh, I bet you
brown
that was good.
butter bourbon cake.
That would have been good.
So good. I love
I
rum
think there was a
cake.
display of cupcakes somewhere behind the bar, and we were like, "Are those real?" And he's like, "Yes." And we're like, "Oh, we'll have one of those, one of those, one of those." And then about 2 o'clock, I'm like, I don't remember his name. Joe, we're kind of hungry. Can you get us anything? He's like, "Get you some fries and a sandwich." We're like, "Great!"
I love all those options.
And leave us some more booze before you leave.
Right. Don't go too far. My
Yeah.
drink is almost empty.
Yes. And I don't think I can get off the bar stool and come around to your side of the bar safely.
I don't
Oh
like to
dear.
sit on bar stools because I will fall off of them. You need to set me at a low table. It's
Well,
shorter distance.
we needed to be very close to the booze and the
That's
bartender.
fair. That's fair. Like we
And
sat right there.
Bethany is a lovely tall lady.
So
So
she was
she had
okay.
no problem getting on and off the
Yeah.
stool. I had a little problem scrambling up, so I wasn't getting off.
As your legs, like,
Oh yeah, they just swing in the wind in normal chairs.
I get it.
I
I
have a chair in my living room that I bought because I sat in it in the furniture store and I went, my feet hit the floor, and I don't care if we buy anything else. This chair comes home with me, and it came home with me.
We just recently bought a new couch, and when I sit, it's like deep, and my
So,
legs,
woo-hoo. Yeah,
it just sticks
woo-hoo.
straight out. And my husband's like, we had to buy the ottoman, didn't we? I was like, we totally did, because if not, it's just my feet dangling in
Yes.
the air.
And that's not comfortable. How come we rarely talk about books? We just start
I
rambling.
know. Heather said that today when she called me. She's like, really, Melanie can interview herself, and it's not that you two ever stay on books. Because here's the deal, people, if you are watching this, just go read Melanie's books. And
Yes, for
you
God's
were
sake.
you were a newer to me author. Um you did one of our first summer reading challenges with us. And
Yes.
then you and I did an Instagram live, and after that Instagram live, I think it was like, Jenny's a super fan. Like, she's always read your books. She's a super fan. But I think it was Gretchen that was like, "Oh my god, she's adorable. Please have her for book club." And I think that following like September, you came for book club, and we read Rev to the Max, and it was a delight. And chatting with you is just like chatting with a friend. Like, it's just so easy, and I love
I'm
it.
Canadian.
And I love your books. And I read all of the Reynolds Restoration, and I'm caught up waiting for the next one.
It comes out in June.
I know. I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
Full throttle.
Um,
Dom and Cherry story. And if you were really sweet to Karen, she'd probably get you an early copy.
Maybe. Okay. Okay. I
Or
can.
even better, if you hit up the author, she's a sucker for that stuff. She'd definitely give you an early copy, as long as Karen had given it to her.
Karen being the pivotal key piece.
Karen holds the key to everything.
I probably would have to take my first epilogue test, though.
You might.
Yeah.
You might. I mean, you shocked me the other week, Becky.
I
I'm telling you.
It's so funny because I did that live recording in the Barnes and Noble, last November, and I said, "Hey, what is one of your like book toxic traits?" And the authors just kind of look at me, and I'm like, "Well, I'll tell you mine. I don't read epilogues." The audible gasp from the
Yes.
authors and the people around, like, "What is wrong with you?" I don't know what's wrong with me, but then I went looking to figure out why. And I told you, like, the old bodice rippers historicals, they don't have epilogues.
Well, because there's no bodices left to rip.
Right? But also, Sawyer Bennett.
And they died young back then.
They did.
So there was no HEA.
Sawyer Bennett doesn't write epilogues into her books.
Well, good for Sawyer.
I know, right?
He also can outright me 30 ways for Sunday. The one book I didn't put an epilogue in,
Yeah.
I cannot tell you the number of PMs and emails and people that mentioned it in reviews. I was so disappointed there was no epilogue. And I'm like, but I can't do an epilogue because the next book literally starts when this one ends for the next character. So if I gave you an epilogue, it would make no sense.
Yeah.
So, but that wasn't good enough. So I said to Karen, the least I can do is an outtake, but most of the time you get an epilogue. I just make shit up.
And I would never know that you didn't put an epilogue in it. Well, now I will, because I will never not read your epilogues.
When you read Over the Fence? No, when you read It Started with a Kiss?
Yeah.
I've been told that's the best epilogue ever, because it goes like 40 years in the future. But it's not him and his wife. It's his date. He has a date with his daughter all the time. So it's their dates over the years. And it does tug on your heartstrings. If you have
that's
any,
a little
Becky.
spoony. I haven't read that one yet, so I will read that one, and then I will be back to you. My goal is to go back and reread all your books between now and June.
Good God.
So that I am prepared for...
That's 48 books.
Listen, some of them I only have to read the epilogues, though. Now, I will tell you, if I do the audio, I always listen to the epilogue because I don't stop the audio. Because audio is expensive. I got to get it all out. I got to get plus it's John Lane, so I got to get all of my time.
You confuse me, Becky.
I know, right? A lot of people feel the same, Melanie. You are not alone in those feelings.
You know that Karen's sitting wherever she's sitting watching this going, oh, okay.
I know she said there will be epilogue tests in June. Great.
Uh-oh. How come I can't see any
Are you on?
comments?
Whoa, they're in the YouTube. You got to go to the YouTube.
Oh, okay. Trust me.
No,
If
you
I
just,
try that, this is over because I'll never find you again.
that's fine. You just stay where you are.
I had to write Karen 20 minutes ago and say, uh, am I getting an invite? She's like, you have an invite. I'm like, could you forward me that invite? I don't know what I'd do without her.
Um,
I'm hopeless.
I need a Karen. Actually, I do have a Karen. I have a Leah because Leah fixes all the things I mess up. Like
Well, Karen fixes a great deal for me.
Leah today, she's like, Becky, I have to send the newsletter today because you're live with Melanie tonight. And I was like, I am. And I put the graphic, we use Teams. And I was like, I put the graphic in our task. It's there for you. She's like, Becky, it's the Instagram graphic, not the happy hour graphic. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll fix it real quick. Guess what? I just uploaded the same graphic. And Leah's
Oh
like,
dear.
she's like, okay, what is wrong with you? I'm like, I don't know. I'm sorry. She's like, I'm just going to get it off. I'm just getting it off Facebook. Please stop touching things.
Oh dear.
Okay. But I'm a delight.
You're an absolute
I'm
delight.
delight. So it's okay that I'm a hot mess on a Tuesday.
It's Thursday.
Oh, that's right. It's fine. It's fine. Um, Melanie, where do you tell people to start reading your books? I know where I always tell people to read the Reynolds Restoration because I feel like it's a good mix, but now I think I have to tell people to start with The Men in the Falls.
It depends what they like. I mean, because there's everything. If they like amusing, funny banter, start with Reynolds Restoration. If they like angsty, start with The Contract. If they like sexy mafia men with hearts of gold that are just slightly tarnished until the right woman comes along, start with the men of the whatever their names are.
The Men of the Falls.
Men of the Falls. Yes. Um, and I don't have a Roman book yet, but that's the cover in black and white in the duet that you can only get at book signings.
Which
And
I'm
he came out,
obsessed with, and I need to do my pre-order because I think I need the duet pocket.
you
Like,
do need the duet. It's very pretty. Karen does all my covers.
really?
Um, yes, she's very talented.
She's like a lady of multi-talented layers there.
Or she's a control freak.
Oh, I can relate to that a little bit though.
We don't say that to her,
Okay.
but I do
It's our
remember
secret.
yeah, we were working on a cover and she was like, no. And I'm like, do you talk to all your clients like this? She's like, no, just you. But that's not happening. I'm like, okay then. So now I just say, why don't you do the cover and let me see it? Because what I say doesn't go.
She just wants you to know she heard you.
Oops.
Karen's like, I heard you, Melanie.
Oh, you are, Karen. You know that you're a control freak.
Oh,
When I say, oh, I'll do that, she's like, no. I'm like, okay. I'd like it done right. So she injures me.
that hurts. Leah just like waits until I'm like in total chaos, and she's like, "Would you like me to take care of that for you?" Yes, yes, I would. She's like, "Okay," and it's handled, and it's fine. And Leah does a
Well, and
great job.
Karen's one of those people she loves having 30 balls in the air. I can concentrate on one book at a time.
Yeah.
And I'm in the middle of something and she swoops in with 30 covers she's done for other books that she wants to change on and I'm like, but I'm working on this book. And she's like, just drop it. Look at these. And I'm like, okay, now I have to get out of that zone. And then I get confused. And then she tells me to shut up. And it's just, that's how our relationship works.
Sounds slightly
Oh,
abusive. Just saying. Do you need an
no,
intervention, Melanie?
I might. No, she's very talented and she's very good. And most of the time I can make her understand what I'm looking for in
Yeah.
a cover, and she just translates it.
I love your covers, and I actually my favorite kidnapper, I'm not a huge cartoon cover person, but I
Me
love
either.
that cover because
Yes.
you got eyeballs and a nose and a mouth.
Yes.
And
When
actually,
Karen said we need animated, I'm like, I need faces. I don't like the thumbprint covers with just, a thumbprint for a
yeah,
face.
the
I said, I
blobs.
can't. Yes, I don't like that. And she said, no, Abby's already on it. We've already got ideas. I'm like, then just go with it. And when that cover came up, I'm like, it was just supposed to be a collector's card. And I'm like, that's the cover.
Yeah,
Because she couldn't draw a more perfect cover for that couple.
they're perfect. So we
Yeah.
joke on the podcast about eyeball money and mouth money. And so we're look at a book, and if there's no faces, we're like, obviously that author didn't get eyeball money. That author does not have nose money. Um, like how much do eyeballs cost? Like when you see someone share a cover, so now you're gonna do this now, Melanie. Whenever you're on
I am.
Instagram and somebody shares a cover, in my head to myself, and then over in our Discord though, somebody will say, how much do you think eyeballs would have cost? Like, I want to ask the author, how much are those eyeballs? Could we get some eyeballs? Because I'll make a donation so they can get eyeballs. Like, I want to help.
Do you need a GoFundMe?
We can we buy you a cup of coffee donation and get you some eyeballs? Because funny story, in our house years ago, my husband was looking at jobs out in California. And my girl child was like, I don't want to live in California. I'm like, well, your dad's in tech and that's where you make money. And I want California money because you can't get California money in Ohio.
Right.
And so my girl child's like, I don't want to move to California. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry. Sucks to be you. This is what we're doing. And the next day, we're at the grocery store, and she says she wants Ritz crackers, not the store brand crackers. And I blatantly look at her and I say, well, that's California money, not Ohio money. You get the store bought. So now that's like the kind of attitude I have about eyeballs. That's eyeball money. That author, she's got eyeball money. Look at you, Melanie Moreland, with your eyeball money.
Well, Abby's working on another cover for another book. So I promise you there'll be eyeballs. There'll be a mouth. There'll be a
Yes.
nose.
Because
We
I
might
always
even spring
wonder,
for ears.
like, he'll have sunglasses on, but he has no nose. How do you keep those on, buddy?
They're glued to the side of his head,
Or he's got a beard, but
but no mouth.
no mouth.
Now I'm going to have to go and scroll through Amazon and look at these covers, right?
Yeah, or you could just join our Discord over in the cover section and we happily share that.
Oh dear.
Uh, Trina Smith says Dick Wiggles book.
Oh God.
What's Dick's Wiggles book?
From My Favorite Kidnapper, Dick
Oh,
Wig.
yes. Yes, sorry. I didn't put that all together. I was like, yeah.
That was an actual conversation in my house, that Dick Wiggles thing.
Was it really?
Yes. It happened on Christmas Day. Everyone had gone, but there was my sister, my husband, myself, and our godson. And we were just sitting around talking, and something came on the TV. And I went, did he just say Dick Wiggles? And Justin said, no, he said blah, blah. He says, but Dick Wiggles would be a far better name. And then the whole conversation started about Richard and wiggling dicks, and I'm like, this has got to go in a book.
I forgot about that whole conversation, but yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah. I mean, I was almost pissing myself. I was laughing so
That's
hard.
so funny.
So it ended up in My
My
Favorite
favorite
Kidnapper.
kidnapper.
Yeah. It's amazing how many things in real life end up in books.
You love, as I sit here and think about your books, you really like sassy heroines, don't you?
Yes. I'm a bit sassy.
I mean, you are, but I love it. It's
Yar.
part of your charm.
I'm very quiet. You would be very shocked to see me in a group.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say a word. I'd be very quiet. But every so often when I'm comfortable with people, I'm very sassy.
Love it.
So
I love
that
it.
I like to write the sassy heroines, and I love banter. I've always got to come back.
You have such great banter. If I think about, like, even in the contract, the banter that Katie has, with Richard, she doesn't, yes, she agrees to things, but she gives it back. Like,
Yeah. Once she was comfortable with him.
slow your roll, sister.
Yeah.
We're not doing that. Um, but then you have Vi, who is just an Aldo. If you want an over the top, vivacious, sexy heroine, I love her.
Looks after her own needs and brings her friends with her.
Yeah, she doesn't mind a friend, but Aldo
Nope.
is man enough to have a friend at the party too. So,
Yep. Absolutely.
and
Bring your friends.
I loved him. That
Yeah.
whole scene in the storeroom of
Oh,
the
yeah.
restaurant, the break room, the storeroom.
Yes.
I was like, Melanie, you brought the spice.
I did.
Oh, Trina says Vi is her girl crush. Yeah,
Oh,
Vi is
she
girl
was very
crush.
funny. And because I wrote Roman first, I already knew Vi.
Yeah,
Just the comments she had in Roman about their relationship and the whole humming thing and all that. It just set them up as he's intense, but he's got that humor running through him, and she just brings it out in him.
I really can't believe that Roman didn't punch Aldo when he sold him out to Nona.
But
Like,
he didn't have his gun to shoot his kneecaps with it.
it was touch and go there. I was like,
But he's afraid of Vi.
right, right. So
He's
he's not
more
doing
afraid
anything.
of Vi than he is of Aldo. Um, yeah, when I was like, how am I going to not speed it along, but you can't procrastinate. You can't keep beating a dead horse. I'm like, now I've got to get it to the next step where people know about her. And I'm like, well, Aldo's going to rat him out. So they're going to go have coffee with Nona. So,
Yeah,
and I mean, let's face it, Roman gave him a really hard time over Vi.
he
So
did.
he's just given it back to him, and he deserves to have it given back to him.
And I like how you brought Vi in for Effie because she
Yes.
needed that confidant. She needed to see that you can have healthy relationships with women and they're not competition because her
No.
sister had treated her so
Yes.
poorly. And I think that's something that you do really well in all of your books, to be honest. It never feels like the women, your girl gangs, are in competition with each other.
No, we don't need to be. And there,
No.
you know what? There's enough of it in the world, and there's enough of it in this world as well. Um, you can hold somebody up and you can be their friend and support them without feeling like you're in competition.
Yeah.
There's enough of everything in this world for everybody.
1,000% there is. And I
Yes.
like that you do that in the books, but I also have to say that in your group and with other authors, you are always building people up and sharing releases and talking about other authors. And it's just so warm and welcoming and inviting. And you've created a book community that's just so kind. Like, I see your group and I go in there and I read, and everyone is just so kind.
Well, because we all have that one thing in common, right? The love of reading.
Yeah.
And to be able to share that, you in the real, I know this sounds awful, in the real world, like out there, when I say I write romance, like people are like, oh,
Yeah.
they get this look, right?
Hmm.
And I'm like, it's the second highest selling genre in the world. Like, there's nothing wrong with romance. We all need it. And if it's not your thing, not a big deal. I don't read paranormal because it scares me. So, but is that if that's your thing, you go for it.
Yeah.
So our idea of the group was just to have like-minded people and people who, love the same thing that we do and love to read. And I get really busy and I get really forgetful because I'm old and I'm supposed to post what I'm cooking on Mondays and blah blah blah. And sometimes I forget, sometimes I don't. But there's always someone posting something
Yeah.
or um, you know, I've become amazing friends with some of these women. I mean, they come to signings to see me. One of them was here on release day and brought me flowers yesterday, which was lovely.
That's so
Um,
lovely.
it is. When I was sick a few years ago, they all got together and sent me things. Like it's just a lovely community. We don't go out of our way like to um try and push the group to people. Like
No.
I like them to come organically, like see it in the back of the book and oh, I'd like to be part of that. And people come and go, but we've got a really great group of core people. And yeah, I think our group is lovely and wonderful and full of great people.
It is. And, it's so funny because that was something I've always been a romance reader. Like, I started reading probably younger than I should have been, but I've always read romance. And you're right. People in real life, when they say, "Oh, what are you reading?" and you're like, "Oh, I'm reading romance," they kind of like eek. And I never understood that because I don't look at you and go, "You're reading Stephen King?" Eek. Like, I don't
Yeah.
care. I'm just glad you're reading a book because I love books.
Yes.
Um,
Read.
and so I never understood like why somebody would yuck what I was reading. Like, you don't have to read it. And when I started the podcast, that was really the very selfish reason that I started the podcast. I wanted a community of romance readers.
Yes.
My poor husband could only listen to me for so long talk about books before the eyes glaze over. And he just is like, mm hmm.
Uh-huh.
And I needed these people to talk about these books with. So starting the podcast was I I got the idea for it when it was announced that Julia Quinn had sold the rights to Bridgerton's to Shonda Rhimes, and I remember just like at length trying to talk to him about it, and he just like
Uh-huh.
and
Great, honey. That was great 20 minutes ago too.
thanks, yeah, he's like, can you let it go? Like, you know,
No, I can't
and
let it
then you
go.
tell him like book gossip now. Oops, sorry, the dog's gonna. Um, I tell him book gossip now, and he'll be like, I'm like, Mike, you won't believe this, and he's like, but now I have the buzzing about romance community, and that is the one of the things that I am most proud of is that
Well,
we
you should
have
be
this
proud.
community that talks books, but also we've had, people with health issues,
Yes.
loss, new family members, and it's
Yeah.
so great to just be small little pieces in their journey. And I just every day I'm always amazed at like
It,
our
when
community.
someone posts something in the group and another member reaches out to them, I think that's just an amazing thing. I know I'm not going to, I mean, I don't know how many people are in the group, 5,000. I'm never going to meet them. I'm never going to meet every single person, but you make that connection nowadays. We have that wasn't around 50 years ago.
Right.
So your world used to be very like this. And now it's like this. I have people I talk to in India and Australia and Japan and all sorts of things. When my newsletter goes out and I get responses and they want to tell me how whatever we had to say affected them, that's amazing. When someone reaches out to me and said, your book made a difference in my life, that is the greatest compliment I think any author could get. To think that something I wrote or anything made a difference.
Yeah.
That's just an amazing gift.
I just always think of the joy, especially when I read your books, other than Richard, but everybody else's book. The joy that I feel at the end of your books. Like, it's just joyful. Like, even Roman, who is totally a grouch and gray and not sure he can love someone or be in a commitment. And I swear to God, there were a couple of times where I wanted to reach through my Kindle and shake the ever living love out of this man when he's like, "We have to marry because I need to protect you." Are you dumb, mister? You love her.
Yes,
Say those
he is
words.
dumb. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but at the end of that
He
book,
can't possibly love,
well, and
right?
you did something in that epilogue. The character I was worried about, you like gave him a little moment in the epilogue,
Yes,
or it
I
might have been
did.
the outtake. It might have been the end.
I think it was the outtake.
Yeah,
And in the outtake, you see a Roman
yeah.
he wouldn't have dreamed of in 500 years.
None of us would have dreamed of in
No, no.
500 years.
But I just had this image of him and Aldo with their little contest
Yes.
and why they were doing it. I mean, yeah. I don't want to give away spoilers.
No, I
Yes.
don't either. But I am going to need you to like hurry up and write a little faster because I would like those Irishmen.
Well, let me get on that.
Thanks.
Never. No, Epi Becky.
I'll just stop reading epilogues until I get them. What? I'm trying to reform and change my behaviors, but I will use it as leverage.
maybe, maybe you won't get Dom and Cherry. Oh, oh, now
Oh,
I'm using my leverage.
look
Oh,
at you pulling
Canadian
out the
go.
mean card. This is what happens when you take the nut away from the Canadian squirrel.
That's
They
right.
go a
Or
little
she
rabid.
drinks that much of her whiskey and Coke. So
Does anyone have any questions before I let Melanie go? Because it's like 10 o'clock at night and she's probably like, Sister, I was up at 3 writing. Now I need to go to bed.
and Karen's like, I need her to stop talking so I can find out what she wrote last night at 3 a.m.
Right?
Today has been a very rare day, and Karen and I haven't actually spoken.
Oh,
We've texted, we've emailed, but
yeah.
we have not spoken. And I've sent her memes saying, Bestie, where are you? She hasn't responded.
It's like she doesn't love you.
And I know she's sitting there rolling her eyes going, I've been working all day, Moreland.
Yeah. I've been a little busy, friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't
Well,
stop her usually.
Aldo and Roman are out now and available with Kindle Unlimited. And the audiobooks and the paperbacks are all live.
Yep.
Melanie, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight.
Thank you for having me. I always love spending time with you.
It's a
No
pleasure.
epi Becky.
I know. I did read this epilogue and outtake. And I went back and read Aldo's and I read Luca's story.
Okay, Luca's story was very cute.
It was
At least you got
very
it.
cute. It was very
Yes.
cute. I really loved it. And I really like them. I really like them.
And see what you would have missed?
I know.
You
Well,
should be ashamed.
I was always
Shame.
going to read that one. That one I was
Yeah,
always going to read.
whatever. You didn't know about it because you skipped the epilogue.
Because I skipped the epilogue. And Vizek's got his dues. That's what was really the big piece in all of that.
Yes.
Anyway, Melanie, congratulations on Aldo and Roman, and I'm sure we're going to talk again in June with the next
sure
book.
that we will. And I'll get to hug you soon.
I know, at the end of June. It's so exciting.
Yes, it's exciting.
Anyway, we're live Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for recording our Sunday episode. This week, we are talking about playlists and music and romance and how they go together. So, until next time, everyone. Bye.